What is a culture clash? According to Collins Dictionary, the definition for a culture clash is a conflict arising from the interaction of people with different cultural values. And so we could say that a culture clash is when two or more cultures have disagreement about their beliefs or way of life. So a culture clash is about misunderstandings and disagreements between different cultures. How does a culture clash occur? For this question, I used a website called cultureclashes.org, which is this one, which I regard as a reliable source because it's funded by Hazel Rose Marcus and Alana Connor, who both has a PhD and are experimental cultural psychologists, and they mentioned 8 various types of conflicts that can together create a cultural clash. And these images are symbolizing each conflict, and I'm going to talk about 2 of them that I find very interesting and very important. For example, this one, that means despite the need for more collaboration, partnerships between governments, businesses and non-profits too often fail. And this one meaning that people of color still feel that discrimination keeps them down, while white people sincerely believe that race no longer matters. So even though these conflicts seem to be unique, they still have the same root, which is the tension between people. Because people often use the independent, separate and in-control side of themselves versus people who tend to use the interdependent, connected and adjusting side of themselves. And therefore conflicts starts and they can be adapted into culture clashes. The site also mentioned the cultural cycle, which is based on everyday choices and that influence your culture. For example, thoughts, feelings and actions that can feed into your culture, but culture also shapes your thought, feelings and actions. So it's kind of an endless cycle of influence. And this figure shows the cultural cycle. It consists of I's, interaction, institutions, and ideas. And your I, which represent your mind, soul, and yourself, etc., includes the left side of the cultural cycle, which is thoughts, feelings, and actions. And while the right hand includes interactions, institutions, and ideas. And example of a cultural conflict caused from ethnic or religious differences among cultures. So in social science, we recently had about the Rwandan genocide, which happened in 1994, and it involved mass killing of ethnic Tutsis by extremist ethnic Hutu groups. And Hutu and Tutsi are terms who share a common past, and because the population in Rwanda was divided into people who owned the most cattle. And it was Tutsi owned the most cattle, and then everyone else was called Hutu. And when the Europeans came to colonize the area, Tutsi and Hutu got a racial role. And because the Europeans thought that the Tutsis had more European characteristics, such as lighter skin and taller build, therefore, the Europeans gave them the role of responsibility and they got the leadership positions. But the Tutsis only consisted 10% of the population, while the Hutu were almost 90%. So the Hutu got very upset and started a civil war because they wanted the same rights as the Tutsis. And so this is a very good example for